All right, so where's the Chumash? Okay, so this week's Be'ezus Hashem, let's start the share. Oh, you have 13 topics this week. I counted, but I want to put it short. I'm gonna just uh, hopefully I want to do it within an hour. I don't know. We'll see. David should help. Okay, so we're starting with Pashas Kisisa Be'ezus Hashem. Kisisa is Rosh Bnei Yisrael of Kodim and Osni Yishkayt V'Nafshi L'Hashem V'Goyis V'Leib. So everybody has to give a machzas a shekel, and it's a koifa nefesh. What's pshat a koifa nefesh? It's an atonement for the soul. What's this machzas a shekel? So we spoke about, I don't know, last year, two shurim, the machzas, you have the mace, right? You have the chotzuas kaspoy. It says toivim ma'oira shabora lekenu, right? Ma'oiros. The first letter of ma'oiros is the mem, the lights. The mem is the first letter. Suf is the last. That's mace. And if you put it oira, you shed light on on yourself, and then through overflowing to the people around you and to the world, then you take away the misa. So there's something very telling about this machzis. Machzis shekel. You have again the word machzis. You have the mem at the beginning, the suf at the end. That's mace, death. But you take you insert satsi half in which satsi is written ses and yud with a tzaddik in the middle. That's chai, and the tzedakah tatzum. We said, I don't remember which year it was. We very recently. Tzedakah tatzmi mobis is when you give tzedakah, you take only choshev kameis, when you're saving the mace from mace. And why is only choshev kameis? Because if you don't have what to give, it's like you're considered dead. You don't have to give money, you have to give something. You can give your time, your expertise, your compliments, your support, whatever it is. Your smile, your good mood. So when you come in with a good mood, it's sometimes more than all the money in the world. But the point is that the the fact that you're a giver, you're not a taker, that makes you live. And when you're live, that spreads away, that separates the mace and so the same of word over here. So you have there's something very, very redeeming about this machzis. It says "Ha'osher lo yarbe v'adal lo yamet." It's not only when it comes to money. This is when it comes to ruchnis, to spirituality as well. When the osher, when somebody is so gewaldig, he says lo yarbe. Don't hold the halt. Don't blow yourself out of proportion. Vadal, and those are very low. Lo yamid, don't fall astray because I'm doomed for life, I'm doomed forever. No, don't give up. You can always get up, and Hashem is always waiting for you. The door is open, and it keeps the light on for you. So the Machtas HaShekel is a person, the Lamaisa. Hashem says, the Gemara says, Ilmoli, if Hashem wouldn't help him, lo yuchaloi. Right? Hashem oizroi. I forgot the Lashon Gemara. If Hashem wouldn't help you, lo yochaloi. Lo yochaloi. You couldn't overpower the Yetzer and all the temptations around. In other words, in Yiddish they say a mensch tut and tut oif. In other words, you, Hashem makes it happen, but you have to show your part. You have to show your investment. You have to show that you want it. You have to show your willpower. You have to show that I did the first half and Hashem does the second half. That's what the machzis. Machzis is the thing that. So the Torah says you have to do it, and Moshe doesn't know how. Hashem does it with matbeya shel eish, because it's not so much how much you gave. It's about it's about the fire inside you that you wanted to give so badly. You wanted to participate so badly. So we're going to get more into that a little later, but just the Indian of Machzas HaShekel, of the Kofer Nefesh, atonement for your soul, you only have to give half because you're only half. Hashem does the rest. I forgot the expression in English. You do your best, and Hashem will do the rest, something like that. Remember? Okay. So you have the machzas shekel, and then and you give for the, and everybody has to participate in the ganze Sache. Now, there comes the kir. You have to wash your hands and your feet. Okay, there. Then it comes the katoiris, different types of spices, v'chulu. And the Torah says over here, I'm skipping. Vayom Hashem Moshe, we say it in Shachris by Karbonis, Shachris and Mincha, we say it in Karbonis. So it says, Vayom Hashem, Kach l'cho samim, okay, which samim? It says, Notov, Ushafeles, Vechelben samim, Ulavoina zaka. So you have four different types. And Rashi explains that some is two, and another some. Rashi says it's 10, but the point is they only four. Why four? When you don't have, when the base of Mikdash is not kaim and you don't have the Ketores, so what? So Gemara says, so what's Machaper? Shulchan is Machaper. So we don't have the Mizbeach, Shulchan is Machaper. So you take the Vorte, it's a nice remez. You take Shcheles, and I'm jumping around, and then Levoina, and then Chelbana, and Notov, that's the letters of Shulchan, Rosh Tevs of these letters of Shulchan. Okay, so you have that. I wanted to speak about Achados, not today, a different time. Mitzvah. So you have you have the Achados Samamonim. You know, it's what's so redeeming about Achados Samamonim? Let's get into a story of the Gemara, but I just want to bring this out before I forget. You have Betzalel and Eliyav. Betzalel, who Betzalel is he's the chosen one, the chosen. Then you have Eliyav. Eliyav is from Dan. He's not a Dan is Mechutz Lamachne. Dan the Pesel Micha. So Betzalel is from the Greste Yichus. Ben Uli ben Chur. That's Yehuda, right? Yeah, it says. וידע בשם משה למראה, קרוסי בשם בצלאל ben Uri ben Chur Lamati Yehuda. And I gave him Chochma and everything else, right? And then ואני הנה נסעתי איתו אסילו ben Lamati Don. Eliyav ben Achisamach is Lamati Don. Who's done? So you have Betzalel is like the usher who's rich in mitzvahs and in Yerushalayim and everything else. And then you have Don Michutz Lamachna, the lowest of the lowest. And the redeeming part is they get together. Redeeming part of a Achados Samamonim, of the 11 spices. One of them, the Chelvanos, it had an awful smell, but when you like 10 is enough. So like 10 is the ultimate number. What do you need 11 for? 11, you're extra. And you have a bad odor. So who needs you? And the teretz is benkach ubenkach nikrebonim. Everybody, nobody's extra. When you hear, you're not extra. So when the 10 go ahead and take the 11th in, and they suffer because the odor of the 11th one. But together they somehow make it happen. They somehow get used to mix it up. And it comes out, after everything's said and done. Not bad. A good smell and so on. Well, if it's a good smell, so do away with the bad smell, with the bad odor, and they'll be even better. No, no, no. The point is when everybody has each other's back, and you take the extra one and you bring them in. That's the redeeming part. And that brings the same of the Talmud and the same of the Ketoris. That brings the great redemption. That brings the kapora, the koifel nefesh, the atonement for the soul in the collective, mission of korban atonement of the morning atonement till shachar atonement shabbat the first korban of the day, which was the tzibur, and the last korban. So what do we have? Everything that has to do with the tzibur, there's a certain element over here that everybody has to participate, the rich and the poor alike, mamish alike. So in other words, if somebody, okay, let me go drop more into it. Later, I want to get to the Shloisha Esamidas just for a second, just to touch it, not to explain the whole thing, just to give a nice. Yeah. But I just want to borrow from there. The Gemara says the two Hashem Kirachim V'chana. The first Hashem is Koidem Achet, and the second Hashem is after the Chet. So everybody asked the Tais, what do you need? Tais on the place. What do you need Hashem? What you need? Shloishes and Midas Arachimim. You need Hashem be Koidem Achet. And how all the Hasidic Sfarim explain that. Yeah, if you're Koidem Achet and you're so clean and pure and righteous and holier than thou, and you're Balgaivinik about it, so you're worse than everybody else. Hashem says with the sinner, I want to be in the same room as him, but with you, the guy, Balgaivinik, I can't even be in the same room. So it's such a foul smell. I can't be with you in the same room. So when the person, the best and the worst, and the richest and the poorest, and they all get together under one roof, all to serve Hashem, without looking down on each other, that's the redeeming aspect of the whole Ketores, the Karbonis. I'm talking about the collective Karbonis, the Korban Tzibur. Let's go to the story of the Gemara. The Gemara says there was a family, the Malaoshim Kol, they knew how to do the certain ingredients better than anybody else. And the Gemara says they wouldn't give it away for no money. They didn't give the secret to anybody. And everybody thought because they're greedy, they didn't want anybody else to have it. It's like jealous type of people. It turns out it wasn't true. How do you know it wasn't true? Because after the Churban, they gave away the secret. Why couldn't they give it? So it turns out they didn't want to give away the secret because people are going to use the Avodah Zarah and they didn't want that. Okay. Pretty impressive. Comes, the Rabbanim, the newer generation, and after years and years of doing it for the Beis Hamikdash, and only that family knew how to do it. So they say, 1 second, there's another family also in Klal, so it's known. I think it was Alexandria. I remember names. I think it was from Alexandria that they can also do it. Why do you charge so much? 12, in English, what it was, 12 something. So they suggested that they'll go and get it for cheaper. So the family said, B'chava. So they went and hired the other family that knew how to do it. And they came and they tried, and it was totally not the same thing. It was so far away. It was so not the same quality and the same aroma and the same. They said, wow, forget it. Just forget it. Now they want to come back to the first family and hire them again. The first family says, okay, but now it's doubles, 24, not 12. So Nachum Olam says, the younger generation, these guys are greedy people. Why are they overcharging? Why are they charging so much? So what's Takub Pshat? So the Mefarshim explained over here this gewaltige Zach. The redeeming part of the special quality of Tzibur is that means every Osher and Oni, everybody participates fully, exactly the same. It's not exactly the same. For the pauper, it's a struggle to come with $18. And for the rich guy, $18 is nothing. $18,000 is nothing. And some people, $18 million is nothing. So it's not the same, but the point is that everybody has physically, they have the same amount of participation, the Chatzi Shekel, which is about $18. They have the same amount in every korban. So what's the word? A korban is not allowed to have for free. You need every Jew to participate, every family, the father of the household, everybody participates. If you have somebody over bar mitzvah, okay, but the Shulchan Aruch, but the point is that every male adult has to participate. So when they participate, and now you're coming and you don't want to charge them money, you can't pay for it. A rich guy says, I want to pay for the whole thing. No, you can't. I need everybody to participate. Then they get a kapara. This thing of accepting the shvach, the weaker, the more vulnerable, the less fortunate, the less learned, the less observant. You take everybody in, and every child of Hashem is counted for, and everybody child of Hashem counts. And Hashem says, wow, wow, you make me so happy that you didn't desert and you didn't leave and didn't neglect and all these children that they aren't the sharpest knives in the shed, and you incorporated them in every program in the events, and you made them feel wanted and needed and loved and cared for and part and belonging to a backbone, to a kehillah, to a nation. So when you give that, and you Hashem, the Reich Nechoichi Shel Hashem is just unbelievable. It's such it's the fire Hoffenung, the beautiful family gathering where the richer and the stronger and the mightier and the smarter and the more talented and the popular have everybody in mind, and they watch everybody's back. This beautiful thing, what you want to take it away from the oil? Of course not. And therefore, everybody gets to participate. This fact of participation goes for the Ketores also. It's called Mizbeach Hazov. Mizbeach is like Zoveach. He's like shechting. You're shechting the all the bad odors, which is bad deeds. On the Chaveris, bad odors. And you're bringing a nice aroma, pleasant aroma, so people can enjoy it and stand there and feel uplifted. So what's the one of the main keys is the anova, the anova part of it, and that brings a person to good skite, and not it's becoming to me and so on, and that leaves room for somebody else, for tolerance and respect and so on. And then once you have that, you want to go and pay for the Ketores, you can't. Every Jew has to participate. It's carbon. It's a Ketores from the Tzibah, and therefore, till now they took 12 because they knew there's another family. So the Klal Yisrael has to pay for it. And now, see, once everybody has to pay for it, now there's two families, so they get half and we get half, 12 and 12. But now that we figure out that the second family doesn't really exist, so we need that the Klal Yisrael should pay the full amount, which is the 24. I thought you're paying them 20, 12 and us 12. Now you're paying 24. That's the whole amount. That would be, considered the Klal Yisrael participation. If the people don't pay, there's no kapara. And that brings me to the two luchas. Moshe goes and breaks the luchas. So why he broke the luchas? Different pshatim. You have the pshat by Kumulatzachek, that's Avodah Zorah, the Egel, and then Shvichas Domim and Arayas all mixed in together. Okay, let's say it's a good pshat. But Hashem tells him, Leich reiki shichas amcha, and he doesn't break it. He doesn't leave it up there. He first comes down, and when he sees that they don't regret, they're jumping from joy. Instead of having a guilty conscience, they're shoytein margish. They're enjoying themselves. They turned Aved into mitzvah. If you don't feel bad, you don't feel bad for your Father in heaven. You don't care. And you want to replace Moshe in a second? Where's the dedication? Where's the loyalty? He came down, he's here. Dropped over his no. They rather speak to some Egel Azov. They need a rabbi with a character that he can get paledik, that you have to respect. No, like this, they control. So the paraduma is going to be masapa. The choik is going to masapa when you want to control the situation and you accept Hashem like a choik without you don't do it because it's kedai, it's worthy for you, it's your interest. But the point is, what's the difference between first luchas and second luchas? There's a few differences, but one of the differences is if you have a child Don't do for him things that you're going to make him a cripple. No, you have to over check and over you breathe down his neck and loves him up, let him live, let him develop himself. No, you pick up for him and you do for him. You're creating first a monstrous, a spoiled brat, monstrous. I don't know, jalobi when he gets big, and no derech, no nothing, no value, no cherishing life, no appreciating. I have to say this. I wasn't going to say, but I have to say this. I'm walking to this room, and I saw a clip that our daughter-in-law Liebisch sent me. And there's the guy that's a little bit, a little bit Messiah. So he is by the suit over there in Purim, whatever it was, and in the Killer, we're in Holland, Amsterdam, and the guy started to cry because he does so much for the Killer, and he says our son Moshe is the only one that thanks him, the only one that thanks him. It's the same people that when they go to a supermarket, they don't leave the shopping cart just somewhere in the parking lot. They put it back. It's the same people that go into shul and the benches are out of display and they push it in. They'll help put together things. They'll pick up a paper. Kedusha's basicness is a little. It's the same people that don't throw things out of the window in the car. Same people that don't try to fool everybody and rob everybody and outsmart everybody. It's a derech eretz, and there's vaikumel tzachek. It's the people that everything is done for them, and they have they have cleaning ladies, and they have cooks, and they have drivers and guard. Spoiled brats. There's no derech eretz there. There's no derech eretz. I mean, this you are playing words. They're stepping all over the eretz. They're treating people like dirt. If somebody tells me that about one of my children, that makes my life worthwhile. There's no better nachas in the world that somebody can tell me. A blot mehr, a blot weniger, als feine Voil. Yes, I'm not against learning. I promote learning. I like to learn myself. Somebody says, the learners, the Talmidei Chachamim, Torosum Nosoi, they say, no, why don't you go serve in the army? I want to ask you, when you take a Navy SEAL, the highest ranks in the army, the most vital, hackers and the computer programmers that in the intelligence, and they have to control the whole intelligence, the Shabak, the Mossad, whatever. A guy flying a plane, and there's very few elite that can handle all that pressure and know what to do and decision making on the spot, and unbelievable. So you tell that guy, no, why aren't you carrying out the garbage? Peel some potatoes. The guy can do the highest class, the highest grade mission. You're going to send him to take out garbage? You're going to waste such talent, such vital, so the utmost vital talent. You're going to waste it on to take out garbage. If a guy can sit and learn, most people can't. If a guy can sit and steig and grow in Torah, become one of the leaders of the nation, you're going to use him to run to army? How knowledge? But what do you expect from people that have no idea? They're clueless. They're so clueless. So you're going to tell me Mizrachnik? I'm sorry, I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that. For one reason. Because if you put the Mizrachnik in the head of the army, okay, now we can talk. But they never make it to the head of the army. There's always going to be those lefty-minded people that hate God, hate Judaism, and they're going to always be at the top calling the shots. and all of a sudden, in the middle of nowhere, they're going to try to get the way anyway. You're fighting an uphill battle because up on the top of the mountain, they'll never let you get to the top. They'll always keep you down so they can control you. So it's not fair play. You want to play fair? If the guy is good, let him be the general, let him be the Ramatkal. Then we can start talking about normalcy. But if there's you don't let us play fair, there's no fair game. Ultimately, it's going to end up you're going to take the mishpat, you're going to take everything and skew the whole Drake Cup and the way. In other words, you planned the way how it ends, how you win, and then you start making the rules. No, 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 that's not fair game. So I'm not. I'm not. If you go to I'm not go to. That's not even the conversation. I don't want to rant and rave. Let's go back. So if the child could do something and you're not letting him develop, not letting him be successful in that area, competent in that area, that's the first luchas. The first luchas is that everything is it's Chat GPT, it's Google, whatever, I don't know, all the other ones, and he gives you for free and everything ready in a second. Right? I don't know how to get drushes, but apparently everybody's using it for drushes. I'm still old school, but everybody's and they have all these clips. I'm getting like dozens over Purim and over all these chat GBT, all these clips that from all the people, and it looks real, presidents, and it looks real. It looks mamish real. It's mamish Yimoisa Mashiach. Who would ever believe that even 10 years ago? You don't know what's real today anymore, but that's not the point. But if the kid can develop and become competent in that area, become professional, and learn their credits, that's only one way. You have to invest. So the Gemara says, "Ilmoli." If they wouldn't break the first luchas, nobody would forget the Judaism. But what do I have? So you remember everything, but you didn't internalize it. You have no shaykhs to it. It's in a chip. It's gigabytes in your head. I don't care how many. So you know the whole color Torah kula, but there's no shaykh, there's no derech seretz. The guy's a shtick fair. He's not acting civil. He's not acting passion for somebody else. He has zero sense of awareness of anybody else on the stage. No, it's my stage and get off my stage. There's no collective mission. There's no carbon zero over there. It's all about me, 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 me. So Moshe says, I'm sorry. That's a failure. And he broke the luchas. And Hashem says, Yashikor Sheshibarta. Comes the next luchas. You don't remember anything. So how are you going to remember? Oh, you have to go to the lave. It has to be Kos Maluach Libecha. Lave is the emotion. That's where the memory. If you're so emotionally engaged and involved, boy, you remember that for a long time. So how are you going to do that? You have to invest. So you got to do and do and do. Not for your kid. Let the kid do. Let him learn how to learn. Let the kid learn how to approach life, how to live life. Teach them, train them. Don't tell it to them, train them. Show them, but let them do it. Let them cook, let them bake, let them become Jewish wives, balabustas. Instead of all the knowledge, years of knowledgekeit they teach in the school system, years of knowledgekeit. Nobody knows. You know how to pay the bills, or whatever you have to in the bank, and do you know? Or we have to start breaking the cup later and ask this. Why don't they teach the people that even the mathematics and what you have to know? If you want to do renovation, cubic meters, the flow in air conditioner, heating, just a little basic physics and a little basic mathematics, just to stop percentage wise and decimal, just a little bit. No, you learn it first, second, third year, and then you go to geometry and algebra. School was like never made for kids. It's just nadish. I'm not against calculators. Use a calculator, why not? But just the basic derech eretz of life. And Moshe Rabbeinu says you have all the knowledge, and it's learn the shtaka Yisrael, and you failed the biggest time failure, the failure of all time. And the Moshe Rabbeinu says that it's not going to work. So you're going to have only the 10 Aseret Adibris, and you have to extrapolate and Dreyen and Krisarein and Chazer and again and forget and fall and get back up and learn from your mistakes. And then you'll internalize it. It'll be part of you. You invested. You did it. You let your child do it. You let your child participate. And when you participate, I'm not, you know, if you have the money to go away for Pesach and the wife doesn't have to go crazy, okay, I'm not against it. But even when you go away for Pesach, but let them participate in the mitzvahs. Let them be part of the action. And you have some places that the kids are about Koiris and about Phyllis and they have the many minyanim and this door. It's a gewaltige Sache. I said it many times in my family. We do the same as Balchuvas. That means not the father sits at the head of the table and it takes a half hour him to give out the matzahs to everybody, and then another a half hour before that to give out karpas, a half hour after to give out morer after the matzah, and then the koirich. Use the time for a lot more connection. So if the father taka is empty, he doesn't have what to say or he can't. Okay, so he becomes a shamus and gives out. And okay, some rabbis, social work. I'm not against it. Whatever works, whatever a person can do, whatever they can do, that's what they have to do. But it's about every kid gets a traditional plate. Every kid gets their own three matzahs. Every kid makes kiddush. That is when you give them the feeling of doing and accomplishing, and then it's a pleasure. Judaism is a pleasure. So that's one aspect. Don't do for the kid, so the kid should be a cripple. Let the kid develop. Let the kid participate. Let him invest like the second Lucas. And then the only way to remember is you invest. And once you invest, boy, do you love it. The second thing of this idea is the Shivrei Luchas. You can't have the new Luchas without the Shivrei Luchas. The Shivrei Luchas is what brought the new Luchas. It's the mistakes of your past that brought you to this moment. Yes, you would rather not do the mistakes, but the mistakes and you fell and you build up your muscle. When somebody goes, when they, I, there was once a guy, Moshe, from Israel. He was in karate, there's black belts, but then there's a few levels till 10. He was like 6 or 7. A Gracer champion from Israel. And he came and he came to the yeshiva. I was installed there, and he taught a class of whatever. I don't want to get into it. But the guy was able to, with his, he was pretty weak because he asked the chevra, the bochum, myself as well, to help him schlep stuff, furniture. He was taking somebody was getting rid of it, and he needed it secondhand, and he had no koiches to schlep. The bochum could schlep much better than him. The small bochum, we can schlep much better than him. And it turns out he goes in a second and chops a piece of brick and a piece of wood, and it takes a nail in here and it smacks it into the wood. How's it possible? And the teretz, the way he explained is every time he knocked with his hand, he chopped and chopped, the tissue broke, but then another layer overlapping each other, another tissue, another tissue, another tissue, until it became that strong that it can go with the right speed and technology, it can go through. Yes, there's a lot of, I understand, a lot of concentration, all that. Again, it's not my competence, but when you fall and you get up, you build certain muscle, and you fall again, but you're a little close, and now you're a little closer, but your muscles build. You remember the thing of push, the Rosh Hashanah of push, chromium. push until pray until something happens, or push until something happens. You might not push the rock. Remember that anecdote? But you become stronger every day, push and push. And came one day, he had to pick up a car because the baby was underneath, and he saved the kid's life, the infant's life. It's building up muscles, building up. So the shivrei luchas is a vital component in the new luchas. You have to see the failure, and you have to say that failure didn't do me right, but I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to make sure. And Hashem says, if you forget, then I won't forget. But if you don't forget, then I will forget. I'll make believe I forgot. I'll pretend at least, and I won't hurt you. I won't punish you for that. So the Shivri Luchas aspect is so important that without that you get nowhere. Without that you can't go through a new Luchas. So okay. So now let's go a little weiter. The Shabbos will be, we'll do it a different time. It's Hashem, and maybe next week. And then comes the story with the Egel, Kiboishish Moshe, and so on and so forth. And Aaron says, Vayimel Aaron, Porku nizma zav asher bozne in shechen v'neichen v'neiseichen v'abiolai. Vayisporku kolom es nizma zav asher boznehem. Now the few pshatim, Pasha pshat is they took off their own rings to make vegel. Some say they grabbed it off their houses and whatever. But they brought, and Aaron says, and he took it from them, right? And he and then Aaron saw this whole thing with the pesel mitzvah turned into avodah zarah, like a walking, talking type of calf. And then it's like, and then vayikra Aaron vayomer chag l'Hashem mocher. What's this mocher? Well, clearly he's trying to push it off. Why? Moshe Rabbeinu, the rules are, it starts from Erev Nemboiker. The fact that he went there during the day, that's not counted because you have to have the night. So he's going to come the following day, 40 whole days. But the thing is that they counted before. Why the Arkegigas went down, ganz in the pshat, but let's go push the pshat. They messed up. They made a mistake. And they didn't have patience for the rabbi. Kivoishish Moshe doesn't say above. So the Gemara Darshans B'Sheish, the 6th hour, and so on. Okay. So the Satan, the Medrash says he made like as if Moshe died, and okay, that would appear to them, and so on. Okay, Kenzai. It's a good shot. But the question is, a push the kasha. Aaron goes and throws it in for them. He throws it into the fire. Why? Hur, his nephew, his sister's son, Hur, when they came to him and they said, create for us a god. Now, a god over here doesn't dafka mean a deity like a likim as a god. It means a likim is hu yelechol Elohim. Bezin is called Elohim. It's like a leader. It's something intermediary of some sorts. So they go to Chur, and Chur says, "You out of your mind." They kill him. They come to Aaron, and Aaron has a choice. If he says, please take a ball for, you guys out of your mind. What are you thinking? You're palatachas a chuppah. It's just 40 days. You're still over here in Har Sinai. You're waiting for Moshe to come down with the luchas. Are you out of your mind? You got to be. Didn't you see the Nisim, the 10 plagues on Mitzrayim, and the Nisim and all the plagues at Yamsuf? Didn't you see? Can't you get rid of this nourish a little narrow-mindedness that some little type of object avodah zarah has power? How could it have power without Hashem? Why do you need this intermediary? Because the baggage of Mitzrayim. So he could have told them, and guess what? And they would probably kill him too. Why? They were crazy. They went crazy. So why didn't Aaron be Moise Nefesh? Why didn't he do like Hur? That's the big question. So the teretz is, I said this every year, but let's try to repeat it and reiterate and elaborate a bit. We'll start with a little mush, and then we'll go to the Gemara, and then hopefully we'll sum it up a little bit. You have a guy in the in you have a these robbers in the forest, and that's the panos. So people drive by. If somebody has money, they rob him, but he shouldn't go out and snitch. So they kill him. They throw him in one of the boat. They kill him and throw him in one of the pits and get the mice. So once the son of the king came, a youngster, and he had no idea it's dangerous over there, and he came into the forest, and they were going to kill him. Now, one of the guys was a nice guy, but the Nebuch, he fell in and so on. So he realized they're going to kill the sons, and he said, "No, I can't let that happen." So he tells the fellows, "Why do you have to schlep out? Go rest up. It's a little guy. Look, he's not as strong. I'll take care of it myself, and I'll bring you the loot. I'll bring you the money then." Oh, they were happy. What after? So they go back into the cave. He chops the guy, steals all his money, robs him, and instead of killing him and putting him in one of the pits far away, a few meters, 100 meter away, he goes and he says, "Run for your life, and if you don't run, then you'll be killed in a second." And the kid runs, and he runs back out of the forest. He's saved, and he runs. Eventually, gets to the king, and he tells the king, and the king sends a whole brigade of his army, and they go and they capture them. And when they bring him, so the father says, "Which one hurt you? Which one?" And he shows and he points to this guy. So the father says, "Oh, everybody's going to be terribly punished, but at Nachapan 80 Malkis, at Nachapan is a patch more than the other guys. They'll chap Pasha jail in there. Why? Because he physically abused, he physically grabbed my son and robbed him and so on." So when they take him to beat him up, Mamish b'fnei kolam veida, so he says, "Oy vey to my heart. Oy vey is my heart. Oy vey, my heart let me astray. Oy, my heart let me down." So the king says, "What did he say?" She says, "Oy vey, my heart let me down, led me astray." So he says, "Get him over here." And he says, "Why are you saying your heart?" He says, "Because my heart let me down. Because my heart said that I my heart didn't let me hurt him. I was going to kill him. I mean, they wanted to kill him. I wasn't going to kill him, but they wanted to kill him. And my heart said, I can't let them, I can't let them kill him. He's this king's son. So I figured that I'm taking care of it. I took away his money so they shouldn't suspect that I didn't kill him. So they think I probably killed him, dropped him somewhere like they do always. And I brought them the money. They were happy and they believed me. But it turns out it's because I saved his life. That's why I'm getting hurt and punished more than everybody else. When the king heard that, he said, "Wow, not only I'm not going to hurt you, they're going to be in jail, but I'm going to reward you." And more than reward, he made him a grace minister and a grace covered and everything else. First of all, Aaron HaKohen said, let it be, at least if I do it, I don't have a bad machshava. If machshava ro ain't mitzaref l'maisa, that's when you don't do the deed. In other words, there's no mazid over here. There's no going against Hashem. His whole heart and soul is for Hashem, and therefore Aaron HaKohen, it's just the deed that he did. It's not that he what he meant. He didn't mean to hurt anybody. He didn't mean to hurt Hashem. He didn't mean to betray Hashem. Chas v'shalom. He just figured that if they're gonna do it, chas v'shalom, if they're gonna do it, then chas it's nishbaim kazecha. What do I mean, nishbaim kazecha? The Gemara says, um, uh, the what's it called? The daughter of Achov, the Atalia, I think her name was. I'm not remembering the names now. Um, so he was the king of Malchi Yisrael up north, and then there was Malchi Yehuda had a son. and they liked each other, and they got married. After shidduch. So the shidduch, so she was the daughter-in-law of the king. When he died, her husband, now she became a queen. And then when her husband died, she's the mother of the queen. But kids said now the son is gonna have. So now she wanted to be the queen. She was greedy. She wasn't the fruit didn't fall too far away from her father. So she went and killed all her Einiklach. Why? Because there's no Einiklach and there's no descendants. Now she's the queen, the grace of queen. Now, how it's horrifying. But unfortunately, there were some bad apples in the Jewish nation. So the Yoda, we read this Haftarah in Parshas Kisita. We read it a few weeks ago. Yoda, I said this story to in the my kehillah. I said it the Shabbos by Haftarah. I told them the story. It's an amazing story. And Yoda saved one infant, Einikel, that he saved Yoyosh, and he put him in the top on top of the attic of the Kodesh Hakadoshim. Now the Kodesh Hakadoshim, once a year the Kohen goes in a few times, but the attic of the Kodesh Hakadoshim is no reason to go in other than renovation to check it out. You go in once in 70 years. So nobody would ever suspect that somebody's there. If you go in, you die. If you're not worthy, you go in, you die. So they took this pure little neshama and they put him up there. The problem with that is that she was mamish mamish yishashen kamoya for her greediness. So they went and they took care of her. They killed her and they took out the kid. And the Haftarah says it was in the seventh year. He was 7 when they took him out and they made him king and so on. Now, as long as this Kohen Yehuda was around, so he kept him under control. But after he passed away, which is many decades, the Yidden over there said, "How could you have survived for 7 years in the Kodesh Hakadoshim, the attic of the Kodesh Hakadoshim, and didn't get killed?" A Kohen went in, 300 Kohanim. They had to put a chain on the ankle to schlep him out. The Kedusha over there. How is it? So they said it must be that he's some godliness, some deity, some a rabbi that has getliche koiches, godly powers. So they started to worship him. Now he loved attention. So now this was a horrible thing. That's betrayal of Hashem in the Beis Hamikdash, in the Kodesh. How could you do that? So the Arya Novi, the son of this Kohen that passed away, that saved his life, came in and said, "How could you do that?" So his zealous Sevra went and killed Zechariah. Now this story goes on for a few hundred years because about 200 years later, when his Radin comes in, and he says, "Why is it bubbling? What's this blood bubbling?" So the Gemara says that they told him all different terutzim, and he didn't buy. He said, "Bring the kevis, bring every animal." No, it's not the same. Look, it's not the same. It's not. He couldn't fool him until they had to give him the truth, and the truth was because he told them off that they worship a human being, and they're calling him a deity, a pshagot, a god. So they went and killed him. They didn't like his message. So they killed the messenger. So that's why you're telling me 200 years. He says, I've got to do something I got to bring justice. So he went and he killed, the Sanhedrin, and he went and he killed Kohanim, and he went and he killed youngsters, teenagers, and children. He tried everything. He killed thousands of thousands, and the blood kept on cooking and boiling and bubbling. And he couldn't understand. And I forgot the number, but almost 1 million, I think 940,000. And he was going to go kill the whole Klal Yisrael. But he said to himself, and he tells him, Zechariah, I forgot the Lashon Gemara. How much blood could you drink? I gave you already almost 1 million. What, you want me to kill all the Jews and then you'll calm down? and then his blood stopped bubbling. Aaron Akoyan says if we say in the Isa, uh, kill Migdash Koyin Vinovi. I forgot to lose. I'm just too tired now. I'm sorry. Yehori Bamigdash Koyin Vinovi. Oh, Baruch Hashem, Hashem gave it back to me. Aaron is also a Koyin and Navi. So you want the Sas Shalom to bring about the of the whole Klal Yisrael, of the Sonim Shal Yisrael. So the word of the Aaron is he saved the Jewish people. So Hashem says, only you're going to be the one. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Aaron, why are you shying away? Lekach nivcharta in Shemini. Lekach nivcharta because you try to save the nation. Hashem yira laleva. Hashem saw your inner thoughts, your deep concerns about Klal Yisrael, your love for Klal Yisrael, and you were afraid that if they kill you, then they'll all be murdered. If Zechariah Kolskin Aaron Akoyen. So Aaron Akoyen says, it's like in the story, the Mashal, he says his heart led him astray because if his heart wouldn't tell him to save him, nobody would know and he would be good to go. The fact that his heart didn't let him participate and he saved the boy's life, that's why he's losing out. He's getting beat up now, punished. And the king, of course, rewarded him. Same thing in Aaron Akoyen. Hashem says, you saved the Jewish nation. So Aaron says, my olam haba, he's ready to give up his whole olam haba. Abi, the nation shouldn't be vernichted, shouldn't be obliterated. So therefore, Hashem says, Adarabba, Aaron is the one. So comes the Ephra Apora, comes the Paraduma, come Yova Imi Vikandach Tzoyas Beno, let the mother clean up the mess of the child. Like we started, that they came with their cheshbonis, they need a God on their terms. And it comes chayk, and the chayk says, no, it's not on my terms. I'm not doing it because of any reason or any rhyme and reason. I'm doing it because it's Ratzon Hashem. And here's the very strong point. I was once a few times in Lake Forest and had this chus to learn for a few rebbes and rabbanim. And I remember, I don't remember. One of them was the Vigilant Rebbe of Yisrael from Bnei Brak, let him have a full shlema. I spent some shudas with him, whatever. And then that week was the Mashgiach, Ramatisyo Solomon, Zatzal. And he spoke, and I forgot who's he said a beautiful mimer. It was like a week or two before Pesach, Bein Azmanim, and there were guests there in the Lake Forest Shul in the mountains in Fallsburg, and he gave a mimer, a drasha about the whole Geschichte. And it was very nice. And I remember he pointed out that the whole Chazal teach that the Torah was already created and awaited 974 generations, and then 26th generation, which makes it 1,000, and that's up to Moshe. You have 20, that's from Adam Rishon to Noach to Avram, that's 20, and Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and then Levi and Kahos and Amram and Moshe, that's comes out 26, and so you have together 1,000 generations. But the Torah is there before there was a story of Mitzrayim. So before the story of the Sukkot, which was in the Midbar, Anania Kovid and Matan Torah, of course. But so it turns out that that's not sort of the reason. There was this Yom Tov. Hashem gave you a nice history, a nice story. So you should connect emotionally to that story. So in the Beina, you should internalize it. But Chas v'Shalom, to say that's the ultimate reason why we do it, because we want to remember the sack that we walked out of Egypt and the matzah on our shoulders. That's only a nice time. It's a good taste to get you involved and engaged, but that's not the ultimate reason. There's a lot more. So why am I saying that? the ultimate thing is when Hashem says no killing and no robbing, it's it's mishpat, it makes sense. But ultimately, he doesn't want you to do it because it makes sense. Why did he give you a distasteful, negative feeling for death and robbing and injustice? Because he wants people not to do it. He wants the civil life, the civility. He wants the social life. People should be fair and be there should be justice. Justice should reign amongst the people, civilizations. But like when you associate uh, evil and robbing and killing it you associate with evilness, and it gave you such a taste, and it's mishpat. In other words, we would know it even if we wouldn't be commanded. The point over here is that the mishpat ultimately has to become chayk. That you're not doing it because you understand, you're not doing it. And what does that bring us to? It brings us to chesed. That's the whole point of the paraduma and the chayk, that the chesed, you don't do chesed because it makes you feel good and you feel that's right. You do chesed only purely because Hashem wants that. And that changes everything. If you do chesed because Hashem wants you, so you don't kill because Hashem wants you. Because when it comes to Mao and from China Mussolini or whatever, I forgot, Mussolini from Italy, and you have Hitler Yamach from Germany and Stalin from Russia. All these people had one thing in common: they didn't have godliness. They were anti-God, and they killed and murdered way over 100 million people, innocent people. I'm not talking about armies. I'm talking about civilization. Why? It's delicious because if you ask them, they'll tell you 1,000% with 100% conviction that they're saving the world from these elements, from the people they have to do away with. That they think they're doing justice in the world. They're very committed and convinced to fulfill their mission of bringing justice to the world. The point is when a person doesn't stop, when these people, and when there's no chesed because of Hashem, so it's just your opinion against my opinion. His opinion is killing all the Jews. Chas v'shalom lo eleinu. That's justice. That's fixing the world. They're so convinced on their mission. They really feel they have this like spiritual mission in life. They kill Chas v'shalom, God's children. It's because one reason. Because when they do things, what makes them feel good, and killing the Jews, the consciousness of the Jews bothers them, and that makes them feel good. In other words, the equation and the barometers, it can't be my opinion versus your opinion. It's not you're right, I'm right, he's right. The one above, the creator of the world, is right. I want to finish off by Moshe Rabbeinu appeals to Hashem. Is it an hour already? I think it's an hour, right? So I want to finish off. And then a little story. Moshe Rabbeinu appeals to Hashem. And he says, Vayichal Moshe Pnei Hashem Lekov Vayim V'lo Moshe Michra Apcha B'Pecha. Okay, we spoke about it, I think, a few weeks ago. Lo Yom Mitzrayim V'ro Yitzim L'Arigus B'Orim V'Chal Smav Pnei Adomo. It's, I care about your name, Hashem. Why should everybody say you're not competent, you're cruel, you're this, you're that? It's painful. And then Hashem, and he's begging Hashem, Shuv machaleni apecha v'inochem al olamecha. Let's say that argument doesn't work. He comes with a second powerful argument, and this is the following: Zechoil Avram liYitzchok liYisrael avedecha. Remember Avram, Yitzchok, and Yisrael, which is Yaakov, avedecha, your servant. Asher nishbat lehem boch. What did nishbat lehem boch in you? This is, I think, the key word over here. The key word is you. It's about you. It's not about me. It's not about us. It's about you. And what does he say? "Vatadaber alim arbe zarchim kachich ve'ashmayim." They're going to be as numerous as the stars. V'cholol etzazos asher ma'ati etim lizarachem. And I'm going to give you this land, Eretz Yisrael. V'nochel olam, they'll inherit it forever. And what's the result of his argument? It says, "V'yinochem Hashem al hara asher diber la'asos lamei." Hashem regretted, and he turned away, he turned back, and that the fact that he wanted to destroy his nation. Now, I'm not going good. Hashem says, "Ve'eschel goygodu." Okay, let me go on first. 1 second. Moshe Rabbeinu says, "V'ine am ksheirif," right? Rega echad. Yeah. Where is this? Vayom Hashem el Moshe, Emel b'nei Yisrael, Atem am ksheirif. You're a stiff-necked nation. Rega echad ele v'kirvachad v'chilisich. I'll come in and destroy you, I'll obliterate you in a second. Vata oile dedichem elecha, take out off the crowns. Ve'edom ha'esalach, no. Vayisnatzim le'Yisrael said, and they do. Moshe, okay. Moshe tells Hashem, I want you to forgive the Jewish nation because I'm ksheirif. I just read now that Hashem wants to destroy the Jewish nation because I'm ksheirif, and Moshe says, no, you can't destroy them because they're am ksheirif. It seems, extremely difficult to understand. So the Dubna Magid, I'll give maybe two mahalchim, which is the same halach, but two different points over here. Dubna Magid has this famous, maybe I said it last year, I don't know, I say it every year. Dubna Magid says, you have somebody that has spoons, wooden spoons, and he carved them out himself. No fancy spoons. Or another mashal Dubna Magid with shmatas and lattes, all these lattes that. And he goes and he says, these poor people, they didn't have money to buy. So he goes to the rich area, the rich block, and tries to sell to them. And Sagaitnish, nobody's buying. And he's saying, what's shot? How could it be? They have the money. How come they're not buying? And somebody told him, come on, you can't be that foolish. Don't you chap? Anybody that has money is not going to buy a wooden carved out spoon. He's going to buy gold and silver. Anybody that has money is not going to buy shmatas and lattes. They're going to buy a nice fancy suit. So you go to the poor people. They can't afford fancy stuff. They will buy from you. And he went to the good. So Hashem says the second luchas comes with the shloisha semidas. The first luchas didn't have shloisha semidas. There was a menu, there was a manual, but shloisha semidas, when the car breaks down, when the system breaks down, how do you fix it? And how the Gemara says, do, right? Do the shloshim is not to say it, not to recite it, but to do it. So once I have to go. I have to elaborate for a second. Remember the mushal, probably another mushal of a dubnag. I don't know. It sounds like he would say it. I don't remember who said it. But this is when we were kids. They gave this mushal when the guy leaves his company, has to go travel for some simcha, whatever it is. And so he tells the guy, here's the paper, puts it onto the wall by the manager's desk. He said, if something goes wrong, here's the first rule. You go, you slap that handle down, you close the knob, and you push this button, that button, all the steps to repair it and because to get it back on the system, it shouldn't be dangerous, everything. Okay. So the guy leaves, and this electric shortcut, whatever happened, and he was supposed to close the main switch, at which he didn't. Instead of, and the whole place burned down. So the guy comes back and he says, "What happened to my company? My whole plant is gone." So they say, "What?" So did anybody, no, everybody ran out of time. So he went to the manager. He said, "I gave you all the rules. Did you keep all?" Yeah. So he said, "Tell me what you did exactly." He said, when the fire came, when the shortcut, whatever it was, I went and read the whole paper, like the 10 different steps. I read it. And that's it. He said, "Shoite shekamoicha." You're not supposed to read, you're supposed to do it. That's the Shloishes Midas. You got to do it. If you do Shloishes Midas, I have to elaborate for another second. The Shloishes Midas Atoid in the Dreshus Bem is one for one with the Shloishes Midas Sharachman. So Hashem, then it's Kale. So what's Kale? Kale is Kal V'chayma. So what's the next one? Rachum. What's Rachum? Gzeir Shava, right? In the Shloishes Midas Atoid in the Dreshus Bem. We use these 13 rules to extrapolate all the klolim of the Torah. So there's what's Gzeir Shava? Racham is from the Shloisha Smish, Racham and Gzer Shava. What's the shidduch between, what's the partnership? If you have Racham, you're the rich guy, and you have to have mercy on the poor guy. So you have to go with a Gzer Shava. What's the Gzer Shava? You have to understand the Gzera and feel the Gzera and live that Gzera bishava with the Oraman. You got to get on his level to understand what he's feeling and how his oppression, his loneliness, the abuse that he endured. And once you understand his lowly matzav, his lowly, unfortunate situation, then you can help him out with a fullness, with a completeness, with a wholesomeness. But if you don't know his matzav and you don't go b'shava in his gezerah, so you're standing from a top looking down and you have no idea what's flying. You don't chap. So you have to go to in this shloshis. You have to do it. You have to practice it. You have to become those midas, and that's the second luchas, which is fix up the whole thing. It's the doing, investing in the luchas. Okay, so now Moshe Rabbeinu says this 30 midas shel midas rachmim. Who'd you make it for the malachim? Who'd you create it for? This clinic, this fixing and repairing and healing. Who did he create it for? For people that are amksheyev. They need it too. The malachim don't need it. In other words, where are you going to sell your merchandise? You're going to sell shmatas and latas by the rich people? They buy new. It's the people that sinned and fell down and tried to get up and fell down dry, and they needed these exercises to live up to these standards, and then they can join in again and renew the relationship and the dedication and so on. So second shot is very similar to the first shot is Rebbeinu Shalom. Yes, Enochanami, the Jews, Am Ksheyerev. But had they Chas v'Shalom not be Am Ksheyerev, they would never last all these terrible nisyanis of gullus and torture and every which way people try to obliterate the Jewish nation. And Baruch Hashem, it's Am Ksheyerev, his gufa, this exactly that, precisely the Am Ksheyerev, the stiff-necked people were adamant to stick through thick and thin and to be dedicated to Hashem in every which way. So we're telling Hashem, Zechoy Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. Remember them. They created these Einiklach, their Einiklach. It's the Amkshe the dedication that they're not going to turn their back. So the whole Zois, despite all the torture, Shim Shachachnu, we didn't forget your name. So here's the word over here. You have people that suffer great consequences for their Judaism and for being upright, just citizens and so on. And they play by the rules and they lose out. It's the hooligans and the bandits, and they they beat the system, go around and so on. And people suffer and they don't chap why. And as the Chazal teach, Rashi brings it down. The Choil Avram. Avram went through 10 nisyonis and the Himmel Geshrei fragt sich Akasha Rebbeinu Shalom. Avram Avinu went through why he brought monotheism to the world. He brought the Hakoras Habayra, the recognition of the one and only source of power, the power of the source of all sources, the power of all powers. And you slap on him 10 nisyonis, 10 tests. Why? He's the good guy, but the good guy has to be punished. The person that introduced the whole world, godliness to the whole world, one the oneness, the achdus, and everything else. And the teretz is because your Einiklach messed up big time. And Rashi says they broke the 10 Commandments, Aseres Adibris, and now Moshe Rabbeinu says, Zechor Avram, you never paid him back. Why'd you give him the 10 Nisyonis if not for now to save his Einiklach that that transgressed the 10 The second thing Rashi says, "V'chol Avram liYitzchak uLyisrael avadecha." So if they you have to hit him with the harshest thing with Sreifa, Avram went through the Sreifa. Avram went to Ur Kasdim, he went through the fire. He let himself be thrown in the fire. Oh, you want to kill him, taking off the heads? Yitzchak put his neck out for you on the Bakedis Yitzchak on the Mizbeach. You want to throw them into gullus, into loneliness and jail, and belittle them? Yaakov went to gullus for how many decades? Always suffering. So, in other words, why did they suffer? They were the good guys. They were your loyal people. They were your loyal servants. The teretz is so they ain't a close. So what you see over here, a person suffers and he complains, and Hashem says, "You have no idea. Your neshama chose this because in a generation or two or three or four or five or whatever it is, your children ain't meant to suffer, and you're suffering a lot less. If they have to suffer, be a lot more. And you took it upon yourself, and your neshama wanted that." So I just want to finish with this little incident. There was a guy that Nebuch. He needed operation, very complicated operation. At Israel, they couldn't do it, and they said the guy that in Israel, the Grocer professor surgeon said the only one in the world that can do it is his professor that he learned under in America. So he said that's your best bet, and but let me send him all the documents, and he emailed or whatever. He sent him all the documents, and the doctor saw and he said, "Yeah, there's the only thing is to operate and take out the organs and replace the ganze Geschichte." So he says, principle, you got to do it as quick as possible, as soon as possible, and just to speak with the administration of the hospital, to all the logistics. So the doctor does it for him. He learned in America, and he has the contacts, and they know him, and he was helping out this patient, this Talmud Chacham, Ningaman, and so on. Now they wrote there $30,000 for the hospital. That's the fees for the hospital, and $50,000 to the doctor for the operation. Very, very difficult operation, which is pretty cheap compared. Such operation could have costed hundreds of thousands of dollars. So he starts, he doesn't know what to do. He starts running around from family to friends and to coworkers and the coil people and rebbes, colleagues, and he asked, and it amounted almost to nothing. So he started to go around to the shuls, and he's doing it for a few days, and he's going from Mincha, Ma'ariv shul to Minyanim, and he's going to the Shtiblach in the morning in different shuls, and then he's going to houses and knocking at every door and every office. And then with all the loans and the gamachim and everything together, he pulled together in a few days $30,000 worth of. So he goes to the doctor. That's it. I exhausted every venue, every avenue. There's nothing. I can never in a million years put together 80,000. The doctor says, let's first send this to the hospital, and they'll give us a date, and then Hashem will help. Only in Israel's story that a doctor is giving a man, the koil or Rebbe, whatever he was, the big Talmud Chacham, he's giving him chizuk. So he sent the money, and they scheduled for literally half a week from then, so they had to leave right away. And right, he doesn't have the money, but his sister went with him. She was the only one that stopped an ASIC, and that would be the best thing. So his sister is married sister. She has a house and six kids and a kind of flourishing house. So she went with him. She comes there, and the doctor greets him. The Grace doctor greets him very well. And they already had all different contacts from all these organizations. They give referrals to doctors from Israel and together American. They were treated. They were welcomed pretty warm. And they go in, and he says, "What am I going to do about the 50 grand?" The sister said, we just bought an apartment, so we took out a loan on the apartment with the mashkin of the apartment for 50 grand, and have it on this credit card. And he's debit card, credit card, whatever it is. So he said, how? You just bought it after so many years. You have a house. My husband says that he doesn't have extra money, but he's willing to live on the street because the Shvaga, which is this Choyle, this he's such a nice guy. That tzaddik, he's a Erlich Yid, Yirut Shamayim, a Talmud Chacham. I mean, it's just I want my kids, his six children, to see how he admires, although he works, how he admires the Talmud Chacham the highest level and so on. Sure. So she gives the debit card, and they ran in right away, and they got prepared for the operation, and then they okay. So they operated him many hours. The doctor comes out and says, hopefully it's very successful, and he's going to live, Baruch Hashem. But till tomorrow, he's like in a coma, and so the kids say you can't go to him. So tomorrow, like a day later, she goes, finally they let her in to him, and she goes in, and he's up, and she talks to him and so on. And the doctor comes in to visit, and the doctor walks in, and he has a little album, and he opens up the first picture and shows them. He says, "Look, this is me 35 years ago. I was 22 years old, and that's what I came to from Holland to New York to become a doctor to study. I started off in Holland and so on." And his parents gave him $65,000. Then it was a lot of money, and that's for paying for his studies and also for apartment and food and logistics and everything else, right? He says, "This picture I took on the train, somebody took me on the train with my camera, and you see everything there." And he shows the next picture. The next picture, the kid said he lost that his bag, whatever, with the money and his documents, his little pouch. And guess what? He was left with nothing, and he's so distraught. He went looking, and nothing did happen. Went back to the train. The train left, and the station. He had nobody. Nothing. They told him go to the police. It took him 5 hours to get to the police, and he gets to the police, and the police says, "Look, it's you can't consider it your lucky day. See this old man, this little guy? Yeah, this little grandpa. He found your money, and he saw bandits wanting to take it. So he grabbed the bag and was clutching it to himself, clinging onto it for his dear life. They beat him up for that, but they saw this guy that's looked like a not a rich guy at all. So they thought, what does he have? A little schmuck? It's not worth. Let him go." They banged him up, threw him down, and they left. So now he came here, he sat here for 5 hours waiting for you. He said somebody is probably going to feel so bad they lost the bag, and he wants to make sure they get it. So they gave him the bag, and he couldn't believe it. The mamish, his documents and his money, everything was intact. "Why would you do that?" He says, "Because I'm a Jew. That's what we have to do." He says, "Because you're a Jew, that's why you do that. But I have to reward you. I'll give you a few $1,000s. You don't have to do that. You suffered pain and they beat up." So he said, "No, a Jew doesn't take money to help somebody in dire when you're in dire straits and you lost everything. How would you pay for your apartment? How would you pay for your studies? How would you eat? You have nothing. Only coil. How can you even think of taking money? Of course not. It's not even a question." He says, "But I have to give you. I'll feel terrible my whole life. You saved me." And he says, "Okay, if you feel you have to give back. So if you said you want to become a doctor, a surgeon, so when you're a surgeon and you'll find a Jew that doesn't have all the means to pay, help him out with whoever you can." So he says this is 35 years. You have no idea how many hundreds of Jews came under his knife on the table. and he charged him a fraction of what he says. Yes, I make my millions of dollars, but I charge. You have no idea how many. And every time I see that you're, so they started to scream it. That's my grandfather. I forgot to take that point. And he said, your grandfather taught me a lesson in life forever. You have to help out a Jew. If it's that Albert grandfather, he saw, that image of that old little man. He's every time he went to operate a Jew and he made it cheaper for them. And he says, and then when a few days ago he gets his diagnosis from his student and it's Israel, and he sees this name. He can't forget his family. I forgot the family name. He can't forget his family. So he went and called. He did his due diligence, and he found out that you're a grandson of that grandfather. He said, the 30,000 I can't do. That's the hospital fees. But the 50,000 he gave back the debit card. He said, your grandfather paid way, way more than this $50,000 decades ago. So counted that I finally paid him back a little bit of what he did for me. I wouldn't be a doctor today without your grandfather's kindness. That's the Choil Avrom Yitzchak Yaakov. He took a beating for this stranger non-Jew, but look what benefit he benefited his own anical. We can don't complain. You can never know what every nisayon and everything Avram went to 10 nisayons to save the Eden from from transgressing the 10 Commandments. The Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov together, everybody with their own way, they sacrifice. So the Yiddish kidna, and Hashem says, "Vaynochem Hashem," and Hashem says, "You know what? I'm not going to destroy the nation." Taka, they suffered. The Eniklach gained on the deal. Okay, I'm too tired. Okay, so thank you very much. And Dave says helpful that we should be dedicated to the chayk, to dedication of Hashem, not because we understand, not because we it's kedai for us, it's worthy for us, but just because we're dedicated. We do our half, but we do with fire, and Hashem does the second half. And Hashem should give us the atonement, kaifel and nefesh, to all of us to have a personal and collective geula. Amen. Thank you very much.